The story takes place in one of New York's most prestigious neighborhoods, a place where wealthy, influential people live and work. It's a world of fancy clubs, high-end restaurants, and exclusive social events where appearances and reputations are everything. Dr. Grant is not only a respected surgeon, but also a well-known figure in this elite world, often attending events where he meets both Alice and Anna. However, he doesn't realize they are sisters. Each twin is drawn to him in their own way, Alice with her professional ambition and Anna with her artistic, free-spirited charm. Dr. Edward Grant is a highly skilled and respected surgeon in his early 40s. He is known for his intelligence, charm, and dedication to his work, making him a well-regarded figure in the medical field. Patients trust him for complex surgeries, and his colleagues admire his professionalism. Outside of the hospital, Dr. Grant is a social star, attending fancy events and gatherings in New York's elite circles. He enjoys the attention and respect he receives, but has a more secretive side to his personal life. Despite his polished, perfect image, Dr. Grant is used to manipulating situations and people to get what he wants. Alice is serious, ambitious, and works as a business consultant. She is very focused on her career, always striving for success and climbing the corporate ladder. She's usually dressed in professional business attire, and her disciplined and determined nature makes her stand out in the business world. While Alice is driven, she has a bit of a competitive edge, especially when it comes to her sister, Anna. Anna, on the other hand, is carefree, adventurous, and an artist. She enjoys painting and lives life on her own terms. While Alice is structured and serious, Anna embraces spontaneity and enjoys the creative side of New York's social scene. She dresses in more casual, artistic clothing and loves meeting new people. Though they have different lifestyles, Anna and Alice are very close and supportive of each other, even though their rivalry sometimes shows, especially in relationships. In 2010, Dr. Edward Grant, a well-known and respected doctor, was invited to speak at a charity gala in New York City. Alice Harrison, a 28-year-old businesswoman, attended the event to support her company. She was impressed by Dr. Grant's confidence and intelligence during his speech. Afterward, Alice approached him to compliment him, and they quickly started talking. Dr. Grant was drawn to Alice's charm and confidence. They began talking more often, exchanging emails and phone calls. Over time, Alice fell for him, believing that Dr. Grant was everything she had been looking for in a partner. Their relationship grew stronger, and Alice believed he was the one for her. She was excited about their future together, thinking everything was perfect. A year later, in 2011, Dr. Grant attended an art exhibit in New York. It was here that he met Anna Harrison, Alice's twin sister. At first, Dr. Grant didn't realize that Anna was Alice's twin because they looked very different. Anna was more outgoing and full of energy, while Alice was more calm and reserved. Anna's personality immediately attracted Dr. Grant. She was lively, fun, and seemed to live for the moment, which was a contrast to Alice's more steady nature. They started talking and became close, with Dr. Grant finding himself drawn to Anna's adventurous spirit. He didn't realize it at first, but he was starting to fall for Anna too. Their secret relationship grew, and Dr. Grant now found himself dating both sisters without them knowing about each other. He started to live a double life, one with Alice, who he had a stable and loving relationship with, and another with Anna, who brought excitement and passion into his life. By 2012, Dr. Grant was seeing both sisters regularly. He kept each relationship hidden from the other, careful to avoid any clues that might make them suspicious. Alice believed she was the only woman in Dr. Grant's life, while Anna enjoyed the thrill of their secret romance. Dr. Grant was becoming more and more torn between the two women. Alice represented safety and stability, while Anna brought excitement and adventure. Even though he knew it was wrong, he couldn't help but continue both relationships. He liked the attention and affection from both sisters, but he was also beginning to feel guilty for keeping them in the dark. As time passed, both Alice and Anna grew closer to Dr. Grant, unaware of each other. He was playing a dangerous game, and it wouldn't be long before the truth came out. As the year progresses into 2014, both Alice and Anna begin to sense a shift in Dr. Grant's demeanor. Their romantic encounters have become sporadic, and each sister notices that he often seems distracted, checking his phone or looking at the clock during their dates. Alice, who has fallen deeply for him, brushes it off as the stress of his demanding job. However, Anna's intuition, sharper and more instinctual, tells her something is off. She catches him in small lies, a forgotten dinner, an emergency surgery that seems exaggerated, and begins to question his commitments. During a casual lunch, Alice mentions how she is planning a weekend getaway with Dr. Grant. Anna, picking at her salad, hesitantly shares that she had planned a surprise birthday celebration for him. The moment hangs heavy between them, both women exchanging glances that convey a shared, unspoken concern. Their once solid bond begins to fracture as the weight of suspicion hangs in the air. They each resolve to dig deeper into Dr. Grant's life, hoping to uncover the truth behind his strange behavior. Weeks later, the twins attend a family gathering, an annual tradition filled with laughter, shared memories, and light-hearted banter. The atmosphere is festive, with relatives catching up over drinks and laughter echoing through the room. As the night progresses, the twins find themselves seated at the same table, sharing stories about their respective lives and, unintentionally, their romantic pursuits. In a moment of playful banter, Alice mentions her incredibly charming boyfriend who swept her off her feet. Anna, with a slight smile, decides to join in the conversation. "You know, mine is also quite impressive," she responds, adding, "He's a renowned surgeon at the city hospital." The cheerful chatter around them fades into a suffocating silence as both sisters stare at each other in disbelief. A stunned realization washes over them. The man they are both dating is the same. Alice's heart races as she processes the implications, while Anna's expression shifts from confusion to horror. "Wait, who is he?" Alice demands, feeling a knot of betrayal tightening in her stomach. Anna, feeling defensive, responds, "Dr. Edward Grant." The gravity of the situation crashes down upon them, the laughter and joy of the gathering fading into a cacophony of disbelief and betrayal. Their hearts pound in their chests as they grapple with the reality of their intertwined lives. Both sisters realize they have been ensnared in a web of deceit, woven by the very man they trusted and adored. Furious and feeling profoundly betrayed, Alice and Anna decide to confront Dr. Grant together. They arrange to meet him at his apartment, each of them fueled by a mixture of anger and heartbreak. The drive over is tense. Their minds race with the myriad of questions they want to ask and the emotions they must suppress to maintain composure. Once inside, the atmosphere thickens with tension. Dr. Grant, momentarily oblivious to the storm brewing between the sisters, greets them with his usual charm. However, the warm smile fades when he senses the charged atmosphere. "What's wrong?" he asks, his tone laced with concern, though his eyes flicker with a hint of unease. In unison, Alice and Anna launch into their accusations. "We know about each other," Alice exclaims, her voice trembling with betrayal. Anna adds, "How could you do this to us?" The anger surges as they demand an explanation. Dr. Grant attempts to play the mediator, his facade of calm unwavering. Ladies, please, let's talk about this rationally. He insists that he felt an irresistible attraction to each sister, claiming that he never intended to hurt them. However, as the conversation escalates, Dr. Grant's manipulative tendencies become glaringly apparent. He tries to pit the sisters against each other, suggesting that perhaps one of them is simply more suited for him. You both bring different things to my life. Maybe you should see it as a compliment, he says, his words dripping with insincerity. The sisters' shared outrage fuels their determination, and they realize they have been unwitting players in Dr. Grant's twisted game of romance. The confrontation spirals, with both sisters voicing their feelings of betrayal and heartache. Dr. Grant remains cool and composed, but his eyes betray a flicker of panic as he realizes he is losing control of the situation. The argument crescendos, each sister demanding answers, leaving Dr. Grant cornered and scrambling to maintain his grip on the narrative. As the love triangle spirals into chaos, both Alice and Anna find themselves entangled in a web of jealousy and competition, each unwilling to relinquish their hold on Dr. Grant. The once close bond they shared as sisters is now strained by their conflicting desires. Alice, feeling betrayed yet fiercely protective of her relationship with Dr. Grant, decides to confront Anna about the situation. One evening, she invites Anna to her apartment under the guise of wanting to discuss their dating experiences. However, the conversation quickly devolves into a confrontation, with Alice accusing Anna of trying to steal her boyfriend. Anna, feeling attacked, defends herself passionately, arguing that she never intended to intrude on Alice's relationship. However, beneath her calm exterior lies a growing resentment. The sisters leave the meeting more frustrated than ever, their relationship on the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, Dr. Grant exploits the sisters' rivalry to maintain control over both women. He sends flirty texts to Anna while assuring Alice of his commitment, creating an illusion of exclusivity. This duplicity further ignites their competitive spirits, as each sister believes she must prove herself more worthy of Dr. Grant's affections. Dr. Grant plants seeds of doubt in both sisters' minds, suggesting that the other is not as genuine in her feelings. He plays them against one another, fostering mistrust and insecurity, which only deepens the tension and rivalry between Alice and Anna. Driven by a sense of betrayal and the need to protect herself, Alice begins to dig deeper into Dr. Grant's past. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Alice stumbles upon a group dedicated to discussing suspicious behavior of well-known figures in the medical community. Intrigued, she discovers discussions about Dr. Grant that hint at a pattern of tumultuous relationships with previous girlfriends. Alice reaches out to a few of these women, discreetly interviewing them under the guise of seeking advice on dating a successful doctor. Each woman shares harrowing tales of emotional manipulation, sudden breakups, and feelings of being used, painting Dr. Grant as a charming yet dangerous man who leaves chaos in his wake. One woman, a former patient, warns Alice about Dr. Grant's temper, recounting an incident where he had an explosive argument with her in public. This revelation sends chills down Alice's spine, igniting a sense of urgency to confront Dr. Grant about his past. Armed with this new information, Alice's suspicions about Dr. Grant's true nature grow. She confronts him in a heated argument, demanding to know the truth about his previous relationships. Dr. Grant deflects her questions with charm, claiming that those relationships were misunderstandings, further manipulating Alice's feelings and deepening her internal conflict. As the rivalry escalates, Anna's emotional state begins to deteriorate. The pressure of competing with Alice for Dr. Grant's affections, coupled with her own feelings of inadequacy, leads to a downward spiral. Friends and family start noticing Anna's change in behavior. She becomes withdrawn, often canceling plans and isolating herself in her apartment. The once vibrant artist is now plagued by anxiety and paranoia, fearing that she will lose Dr. Grant to her sister. In an effort to regain Dr. Grant's attention, Anna engages in increasingly reckless behavior. She begins to attend lavish parties in hopes of being seen with him, drinking heavily, and making impulsive decisions that further alienate her from Alice and their mutual friends. Dr. Grant, recognizing Anna's fragile state, subtly encourages her dependence on him. He acts as her confidant, telling her how much he admires her spirit and creativity, thus reinforcing her obsession with him. Yet, when Anna seeks reassurance about their relationship, he keeps her at arm's length, maintaining a sense of ambiguity that only deepens her insecurity. In a moment of desperation, Anna decides that drastic measures are necessary to win Dr. Grant's love. She begins to contemplate more extreme actions, convinced that proving her devotion will finally make him choose her over Alice. This mental unraveling culminates in a breakdown where she confronts Alice, leading to a fierce argument that leaves both sisters devastated and more determined than ever to win Dr. Grant. As the reality of her situation settled in, Alice Harrison felt a storm brewing within her. The duplicity of Dr. Edward Grant weighed heavily on her mind, and she knew that the time for half measures had passed. Each passing day brought with it a suffocating sense of betrayal. She had invested her heart into a relationship built on lies, while her twin sister, Anna, found herself caught in the same web of deceit. Determined to reclaim her life and restore her dignity, Alice decided to take a stand. She sent Dr. Grant a text that was both direct and assertive. "Meet me at your apartment tonight. You need to make a choice." The words echoed with finality. She hoped he would understand the gravity of her request, yet a flicker of doubt lingered. Would he even take her seriously? As the evening approached, Alice dressed with purpose, choosing a fitted navy dress that conveyed her newfound resolve. She looked at herself in the mirror, her reflection revealing not just beauty, but also the weight of her emotional turmoil. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for the confrontation that would determine the fate of her relationship and potentially the future of her sister. When Alice arrived at Dr. Grant's upscale apartment, her heart raced. The atmosphere inside was filled with a tension that mirrored her own. He opened the door with that charming smile she had fallen for, but tonight it felt like a mask concealing the truth. "Alice, you look beautiful," he said, but she noticed a fleeting glint of unease in his eyes. "Let's cut to the chase, Edward. I need to know where we stand." "You have to choose between me and Anna," she declared, her voice firm but laced with a quiver of vulnerability. Dr. Grant's smile faded, and his expression morphed into one of irritation. "You don't understand how complicated this is," he replied, his tone defensive. "I care about both of you." "Enough," Alice interrupted, her voice rising. "You can't keep playing with our lives like this. I won't be a part of this sick love triangle any longer. You need to make a decision, and you need to do it now." As tensions escalated, the room grew thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Dr. Grant, feeling cornered and threatened by Alice's ultimatum, paced the room, his frustration palpable. "You're being unreasonable. Why can't you see that I'm trying to navigate this without hurting either of you?" Alice's resolve wavered for a moment, the sorrowful truth of their situation washing over her. "You've already hurt us both, Edward. Just admit it. You never intended to choose." In that instant, something snapped within Dr. Grant. His expression shifted from frustration to anger, a volatile mix of emotions boiling to the surface. "You think you can just demand things from me? You have no idea what it's like to be me," he shouted, his voice echoing in the confines of the apartment. As he stepped closer to her, Alice felt a rush of fear. She had never seen this side of him before, a man unraveling before her eyes. "I trusted you," she whispered, her voice now trembling. In a moment fueled by rage, Dr. Grant moved towards Alice, gesturing emphatically. But in the heat of the argument, his hand struck her arm hard enough to send her stumbling back. The shock of the moment startled both of them, and before he could react, Alice hit the edge of the coffee table, collapsing to the floor. A sharp gasp escaped her lips as she felt a searing pain in her side, blood seeping from the wound caused by the table's edge. "Alice!" Dr. Grant exclaimed, rushing to her side. Panic flooded his face as he knelt beside her, the veneer of control completely shattered. "Oh God, what have I done?" He looked at the blood pooling beneath her and realized the severity of the situation. In a frenzy of denial and fear, Dr. Grant quickly assessed the scene. The gravity of his actions sunk in this was no longer just an argument. He had seriously injured the woman he claimed to love. Time slowed as he considered his options. The instinct to protect himself surged forth. "I can't let this get out," he muttered under his breath, glancing around the apartment as if searching for an escape route from the chaos. His mind raced, concocting a plan that would allow him to maintain his pristine reputation. Dr. Grant's hands trembled as he attempted to staunch the bleeding with a nearby towel, all the while knowing that calling for help would mean revealing the truth behind Alice's injury. He was trapped in a web of his own making, and there was no easy way out. As Alice lay unconscious on the floor, the weight of Dr. Grant's choices loomed over him like a dark cloud. He had crossed an unforgivable line, and in that moment, he realized that his scandalous romance with the twin sisters had spiraled into a deadly game with irreversible consequences. Anna's heart raced as she stepped out of the cab, the brisk New York air hitting her face. She had been feeling uneasy all day, haunted by the nagging feeling that something was terribly wrong between her and Alice. After their confrontation with Dr. Grant, the tension had grown thicker than ever. Despite her attempts to shake it off, she couldn't ignore the urgent need to check on her sister. As Anna approached Dr. Grant's apartment building, she took a deep breath, trying to quell the anxiety that bubbled up within her. She entered the lobby and hurried to the elevator, tapping her foot impatiently as the doors creaked open. The ride up felt agonizingly slow, each passing floor heightening her sense of dread. When she finally arrived at his door, Anna knocked frantically, her mind racing with thoughts of her sister. "Alice, it's me," she called out, her voice tinged with desperation. No response. She tried the doorknob, finding it slightly ajar. Pushing it open, she stepped inside, her heart pounding. The scene that greeted her was chilling. The room was dimly lit, with shadows flickering across the walls. Anna's eyes widened in horror as she turned to see Alice sprawled on the floor, a pool of crimson spreading around her. She rushed to her sister's side, cradling Alice's head in her hands, tears streaming down her face. "Alice, wake up, please," she pleaded, shaking her gently. Alice's face was pale, and her breathing was shallow. Anna's heart sank as she felt the warmth of the blood beneath her fingers. Panic surged through her. Just then, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see Dr. Grant entering the room, a strained expression on his face. "Anna, you shouldn't be here," he exclaimed, his voice betraying a mix of surprise and guilt. "What did you do to her?" Anna's voice quivered with rage and fear. "What happened? Why is she like this?" "It was an accident, I swear." Dr. Grant rushed to explain, stepping closer to Alice's motionless form. "We were arguing, and she just fell. I didn't mean for this to happen." Anna glared at him, fury igniting within her. "You expect me to believe that? You've been lying to us from the start. You're a monster." Dr. Grant took a step back, a flash of anger crossing his features. "You don't understand. I care about you both. This was never supposed to go this far. Anna shook her head, her mind racing with memories of their time together, the manipulation, the deceit. It all became clear now. Dr. Grant had played them against each other, and in that moment, she realized how deep his treachery ran. She felt a surge of adrenaline as she stood protectively over Alice, anger transforming into a primal instinct to defend her sister. "Stay away from me," Anna shouted, stepping forward. "You think you can just walk away from this?" Dr. Grant's expression shifted from feigned innocence to a cold, calculated glare. "You think you can threaten me? You don't know who you're dealing with," he sneered, his facade of charm crumbling away. In that instant, Anna felt the weight of everything, the betrayal, the pain, the fear crush her under its enormity. She reached for something to defend herself, her hands brushing against a heavy glass vase on a nearby table. Without thinking, she grabbed it and swung it at Dr. Grant, fueled by an instinctive desire to protect Alice. Dr. Grant barely had time to react as the vase shattered against his head, sending shards of glass flying across the room. Stunned, he stumbled backward, gripping his temples, blood trickling down his face. But he quickly regained his composure, his eyes narrowing in fury as he lunged at Anna. A chaotic struggle ensued, filled with desperation and raw emotion. Anna fought back with every ounce of strength she had, but Dr. Grant was strong and determined. The two grappled, knocking over furniture in the cramped apartment. In the heat of the moment, Anna's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, her sister's suffering, Dr. Grant's deceit, and the desperate need to survive. As they wrestled, Anna felt a surge of clarity. She couldn't let him win. With a final surge of adrenaline, she pushed him away and grabbed a nearby kitchen knife that had fallen from its holder. Dr. Grant lunged again, but this time Anna was ready. In one swift motion, she thrust the knife forward, and it sank deep into his chest. Dr. Grant's eyes widened in shock as he staggered back, his hands clutching at the wound. "What have you done?" he gasped, the color draining from his face. Anna stood frozen, the reality of what she had just done crashing down on her like a tidal wave. Dr. Grant fell to the ground, his body collapsing with a heavy thud, leaving Anna standing over him, breathless and shaking. Time seemed to stand still as she looked down at his lifeless body, a mix of relief and horror washing over her. She had crossed a line she could never uncross, and the weight of that knowledge settled heavily on her shoulders. After the attack, Alice wakes up in a hospital room. She has serious injuries, including a broken arm and bruises all over her body. While she is grateful to be alive, she feels deeply hurt and betrayed by Dr. Grant, the man she loved. She spends time in physical therapy to heal her arm, but she also needs emotional support to deal with her feelings of anger and sadness. As Alice focuses on her recovery, her sister Anna is arrested for Dr. Grant's death. Anna claims she acted in self-defense, but the police begin their investigation. The situation becomes complicated as the case draws a lot of media attention, with news outlets eager to share the scandalous story of the twins and their relationship with Dr. Grant. The media coverage is intense. Stories about the love triangle between Alice, Anna, and Dr. Grant fill newspapers and TV shows. Alice struggles to cope with the public scrutiny, feeling exposed and vulnerable as photographers try to capture her during her toughest moments. While her family and friends support her, the constant attention from the media makes healing even harder. In court, Anna's lawyer argues that she acted out of desperation and that she was a victim of Dr. Grant's betrayal. The trial captivates the public, with many people sympathizing with Anna's story. However, the pressure takes a toll on Anna, and she begins to show signs of stress, feeling weighed down by what has happened. Over time, Alice starts to rebuild her life. She begins painting as a way to express her emotions and find peace. Each painting helps her heal and discover who she is beyond the scandal. With help from her therapist, she learns to forgive herself and even considers forgiving Anna for the pain they both experienced. In the meantime, Anna faces the consequences of her actions. The trial is tough, and in the end, she is found guilty of manslaughter. This outcome reflects the complicated situation rather than outright blame. As the dust settles, both sisters are forever changed by the events. They realize that while their lives were marked by betrayal and heartbreak, Alice focuses on her healing journey, while Anna navigates the challenges of her new reality. Their story becomes a lesson about the dangers of deception and the struggle for love, showing how even the darkest experiences can lead to new beginnings.